The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode. All right, welcome back to the Influencer's Edge. If you've been following the show for any length of time, you know that we have some pretty interesting, even off-the-wall guests. We've had CIA case handlers, FBI interrogators, people who trained military intelligence, intelligence officers, former intelligence officers. We've had deception detection experts, people who are masters of brainwashing. That's all great, but today we have an actual mutant, a real living, breathing mutant. Now, I'm not talking about Wolverine with his adamantium claws and his indestructible skeleton, or Iceman who can turn into ice, or any of those. I am talking about someone who has a unique condition that is a mutation that lets her do some miraculous things. So her name is Concetta Antico. Did I get that right, Concetta?
You sure did. You got it perfectly right. Yeah.
Thank you, and welcome to the Influencer's Edge. I love your Southern accent. Just is really a great drawl there.
It's not, it's Australian, but thank you. It gets mistaken for all kinds of areas on our planet.
I well know that it's Australian.
I know, you like to tease.
I know, I like to tease. It's part of my persona, part of my personality. So tell us, you have a mutation in your eyes called tetrachromacy. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is? And then we'll get into what you do with it and the mysteries of it and the rest of it. So what is...
Of course, I'd love to. The short version is those folks with regular vision, like I'm assuming yourself, Paul, have 3 cones or color rods or receptors in their eyes, allowing them scientifically, and I'm going to use some statistics that have been given to me by my scientists, allowing them to see up to 99,000 colors, for example. I have a 4th color cone or receptor in my eyes, and what that means is I have expanded color vision. They call it super vision, and I can see up to 100 million more colors than regular vision. So you can see like around 1 million, and I can see 100 million. Yeah.
Wow, the only metaphor that pops into my head is I've seen these YouTube videos of people who are colorblind, and there's special glasses you can give people who are colorblind where they can actually see color for the first time.
I've seen this too. And I mean, there are a lot of scientists out there trying to help those people with color deficiency. The people who have, for example, for your audience, the people who have color deficiency, or how we used to call color blindness, they only have 2 receptors. And of course, someone who can only see in black and white only has 1 receptor. And some people who are blind, they have none. So yeah, I'm very fortunate.
So when you were a little kid growing up, you're in, I don't know if they call it first grade, second grade, O levels, E levels, that's England. But let's say you're a little girl, you're 10 years old, and how did you discover that you're seeing the world in a different way?
Okay, sure, I get you. But that's the interesting part. I didn't know until about 14 years ago that I was seeing the world differently. I
What?
thought yeah, that's what I'll get to. I thought everybody was seeing the things that I was seeing. And I thought everybody would be captivated with the beauty of our planet in the way that I see it. And it was only after becoming a teacher and having my own school, and I taught up to 25,000 people how to oil paint here in San Diego over a long period of time. And it was only after I was discovered that people came forward and raised their hand and said, well, I don't really see what she sees. I guess up until then, people would just, I don't know, maybe they think I was just on some kind of strange trip. But nobody actually ever said to me, I can't see what you're seeing. And so it's very bizarre as to how it came about and then how I found out that people don't see all of the colors that I
Is
see.
that an isolating feeling, the idea that people are not able to enter your world, or was it?
Well, it is a little bit, except that it's such a wonderful gift that I feel blessed, right? So I don't necessarily feel like I'm missing out. I feel that it's unfortunate that most other people cannot see what I see. It was a little bit shocking. It was kind of like the cold water in the face when, 12, I like to call it my hung jury. When 12, well, I have to back up. When I got discovered, it was because there was a company, a production unit for science mystery, Fuji TV. They were looking for a tetrachromat. And to cut a long story short, they found me. We can go into that if you want later. But what they did is they filmed me in my art studio. And what they wanted to do was get 12 of my students in there at their easels. And they took me out of the room. And they said, okay, when they brought me back in to film, they said, okay, raise your hand if your teacher sees colors when she's teaching you and tries to get you to paint them that you don't see. And all 12 of them put their hand up. And that was the first time that I've ever had my actual students tell me. And I asked them later, I said, well, if I was taking you to the beach and I was saying, look at that magenta on the rock, or look at that, turquoise pink color on the water, and you were going, yeah, yeah, and you were painting it, why weren't you telling me that you couldn't actually see it? And they said, well, we thought that would be rude. That we didn't want to tell the teacher that,
You
I
must be a trip to vacation with. I can only imagine being on vacation with you in a
yeah,
place like the Turks and Caicos, where I can see
yeah.
azure colors and aquamarine, but you're probably looking at that water and seeing
And
a
full
zillion
psychedelic.
things.
Yeah, it's full psychedelic. So it's like, and sunsets are very miraculous, as you can imagine. But anyway, I've jumped over a bunch of
That's
information there, but I can backstep, but I'll let you go with your next question. But that was the first time I actually realized that people that I knew, people who were my, kind of my friends and people who are my associates, that had actually said to me, well, you know what? We know now you're not high, but we
well, you
know
can
that
be.
you're seeing this and it's
Who
real.
is the first? So as soon as you got the scientifically confirmed, I think you're
Right.
someone I just already know from this conversation. My gift is to be an intuitive and to be an empath. I already know that you're someone who trusts yourself and trusts your own perceptions. I don't think you needed it
No, I
necessarily.
didn't need
No,
validation.
no,
And
I know
like I
you
said,
did.
I'm very comfortable in my own skin of
No, I
who I
can
am
tell
and what
that.
I see.
I can
Yeah.
tell that already.
Yeah. Right.
What my question for you is, if I discovered I had this ability scientifically confirmed, I'd pick up the phone and call somebody. Who is the person you called? Who did you call first?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, when I suspected that I had it because of some different pieces of information that came to me from a couple of students, I had a lot of very professional students. One of them was a neuroscientist, and she was the first person to give me some bibliography and tell me that she thought that I had this gift. The other person who first brought along a Smithsonian article to me a few years even before that, and we're talking 2012 when it first unfolded, he was an ex-Vietnam vet and he was actually color deficient. And he was a student of mine for a long time, great guy. And he was the first one. He was also an engineer for Cisco. And he brought this article from the Smithsonian, and I'd been teaching him for about 5, 6 years, and he's like, wow, I think you're one of these. And of course, I just assumed that because he was color deficient, of course, anything that I was doing was looking, fantastical to him. And I ignored it. But I think the very first people that I told were probably some of my students, definitely my PR agency, because, for an artist who has been confirmed to be a woman who can see 100 million more colors than the rest of the world. That's like the cherry on my, on my palette, right? That's like the cherry on the top of my cupcake. So that really went big. That went viral for a while on Popular Science and IFL Science and some of these other platforms. So yeah, and I guess after that, after my agent,
Did you have a lot of nerds stalking you saying, I
well,
read
I
about
had a lot
you?
of, I mean, anyone who's in a position of being an influencer in a way, which
Yeah,
is kind of what I am, you get the naysayers and you get the people that say, oh yeah, well, of course she's that because she's an artist and, great
yeah.
marketing. You get all kinds, but then, when you start to throw white papers at them, you say, okay, here's from UC Irvine, here's my scientifically endorsed documents and, testing, you
That
can
was,
do what you want. I really don't care. But anyway, so it was that, and it was my family. Yeah, and just really it was my career. It really was all about looking at my paintings and looking at the way that I see the world in a very different way. And then of course it was about my students, and my students mean so much to me. And I would start to take them out. And what started to happen after that point was a lot more enlightenment in my teaching efforts, because I started to realize they couldn't quite see what I was seeing, but seeing color and expanding your color vision is a learned thing. It's a growth thing. So I need to explain to you about tetrachromacy. But
yeah.
so my students saw a lot more color than other people because of what they were doing, because they were working with color, they were mixing paints, they were looking at nature very intently. And so you grow your color space. And I don't think many people realize that they can. So, not to be, not to pigeonhole people, but someone who, reads black and white material all day or on a computer screen all day, they're not necessarily expanding their color vision in the same way that an interior designer or an artist or somebody who works with color would. So my students started to really appreciate that I was teaching them about color and helping them to see more in their world. And that was a great gift to them. And so I started to focus more on the fact that I could expand what their enjoyment was of what they were seeing and how they would then reproduce that on canvas. See, because the canvases are really a way of showing everyone else what I'm seeing. It's like a window into my world, if you like, scientifically endorsed.
That's poetic. I think you're also, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but speaking to you as someone who's a master at helping people change their beliefs, I think you're working alchemy on two levels. First of all, you have your own alchemy of taking your vision and then transforming it into something that other people can see. But you're also assisting your students in changing their beliefs about
Mm.
what's possible for them to see in their world, not just what they can paint, but how they can go out and enjoy their world in general. So you're actually, in my eyes, you're doing two kinds of art. You're doing the art three, the art of teaching, the art of your own painting, but you're also changing beliefs. And the
Right.
ability to change people's beliefs is a nice touch of
Powerful thing.
magic.
It's a magic and it's a powerful thing. And I will say that it's probably the thing that's brought me more joy in my life than anything else, to see how this new ability, this new way of seeing their world, which then has an effect on their emotions, their lives, everything, everything they do, everything they choose to do, everything that they pick. Color is very powerful. And
Talk about that. Unpack that
yeah,
for a minute.
yeah, because for example, in the past, well, since the time that I've been teaching, but particularly in the past, say 10 to 15 years, you'll notice that a lot of big Fortune 500 companies are really diving into color as a marketing aspect, in terms of, well, look at iPhone, right? Now you can get it in all these different colors because they're realizing that color is very personal, right? Color is your own personal self-expression, and it changes the way that you perceive your world and the way that you, I guess, in a funny way, decorate your world, or the things that you want to purchase and what you want to buy. So it's actually a very powerful marketing tool. And it's really I've noticed it wasn't so much in the forefront of marketing of big companies as it is now. Even Coca-Cola started putting, different colored, Coke and bottles, and like you can think of a lot of companies that are doing this, and instead of just their, you know, I mean, car companies have always kind of done it because that's one of the aspects that they use to sell cars is to, a lot of people buy cars based on the color or the interiors or so forth. But there's a lot of stuff now that has a color influence or a color impact to how it's being represented in order to attract buyers. So it's very interesting.
Wow. As someone who's done a lot of marketing, I've never really thought about the
But it's
ability,
powerful.
power of color to influence people subliminally and on a
Absolutely.
subconscious level. Color can be a form of suggestion. It can be part of the power of suggestion. You can
Right.
suggest things. I've always done it through hypnosis, but now I'm seeing, wow, this is opening my mind that you
Because color affects emotions too, which is the other side of it. Okay. Not just what you like, what you don't like, what appeals to you, but what moves you, right? Some people, like for me, I don't like red. It's just too much for me. So I won't necessarily lean towards purchasing anything or getting anything that's red. Okay. Red also means for some people, it's the reason that banks use it. It's the reason that fire departments use it. It's an alert type. It's a very powerful color. Blue is very soothing. It's why hospitals and other companies use this color. So color has always been something that's been there for the people that understood marketing and influencing and emotions, but now it's becoming far more mainstream. And that's what I've noticed. And so has creativity. A lot of companies now, there's a company like Anthropology, there's a few other bigger companies that are using artistic creation and personal artistic license, if you like, to
What does
influence.
that mean? I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean by personal artistic license.
Well, we all have the right to use our own personal self-expression, right? And that can come out in a form of how you dress, how you create your home, how you doodle, whatever it is, it's your own personal self-expression. So it's your own license, if you like, to create. Okay. And we all have it. I mean, children understand it until it's taken out of them at some point,
Yeah.
sometimes during the, education system. But the fact is that we were all born wanting to like use crayons and create.
I
And
drew on the wall. I
there
drew
you
on the
go.
wall
There you
and
go.
got.
I did collage over my whole wardrobe, to the,
How old were you
day
when
of
you did
my
collage on your
I
wardrobe?
was probably about 11, and I chopped up every magazine I could find and plastered with glue over my entire 5-door wardrobe. So painted album covers on my wall. I was always doing stuff like that. But that's what
Personally,
I mean by license. We have the right,
well,
and we have the right to do that. Yeah.
well, in our, we had some communication before the show, and I said, I just cannot draw a stick figure, and you said that's
You're
not
my favorite client.
true. Yeah.
You're
Well,
my favorite client. I can't tell you how many people have walked in my studio being entranced by the beauty, by the art, by the color, talking to me, finding out about tetrachromacy. And they want to be a part of it, like they want to take a class. But the very first thing they always say, not always, but majority of the time, I can't draw a stick figure. It's almost like that was branded on them, at some point somewhere. And I always laugh, like I did with you. And I go, oh, yeah, great. Well, you're my perfect client because I can't tell you how many people I've taught to paint magnificent paintings who were the people that said that. And it changed their whole world. It changes their self-esteem. It changes
right.
ideas of what they can and can't do. There's so many people who go through their life and they don't do certain things because they believe that they can't. And then they
Yeah.
do, and these doors fly open. That's the manifestation part. That's the amazing.
That's the alchemy part.
Yes.
And by the way, it's one thing to talk about your art. It's another thing to show it. I've never done this on the show, but I'm going to do a screen share.
Oh, you're
So
so kind.
here we go. Um, these are some of your wonderful creations. Of all of them, I just picked three. I love this. Now I
Amazing.
can see as I'm
You can
looking at
see
this.
spirits in there,
Say
Paul?
again.
Can you see some spirits in that?
I absolutely, I see it here in the smoke
Yeah,
coming out. I
yeah.
see I see a face. I see a nose, and
Genie. There's a genie in there.
there's a genie in there. Now, is that, first of all, I'm as you, I believe it's an Australian expression, gobsmacked, or is that British?
Oh, I think it's a British one,
Okay,
but we could adopt it. It's good.
okay.
I
I'm
like it. Say
gobsmacked
it.
by this. But I
Yeah.
want to ask, when someone does something of incredible skill, I want to know their process. And let me slow myself down here and put the question in a really intelligible and cogent way. Do you get a fully formed vision of this before you put it down on the canvas, or does the canvas, as you're putting it down, begin to morph and change and speak to you and tell you how it wants to be painted, or neither, or both, or what the hell?
Okay, well, I'll explain it in the way that I've always explained what really happens for me. Okay, it is a form of a download, I guess would be the way to describe it. Before, when I walk up to a blank canvas, I already have a sense, a roadmap, if you like, based on my skill, right? Like based on, so it's a, when you think of painting, you got to think of there's the person wielding the paint and putting it up on the canvas, but then there's, the 100,000 hours of knowledge that goes into that wielding, if you like. Then there's that personal self-expression, that alchemy part that we've been talking about. So when I go to paint a painting, first of all, I want to say one thing to the people listening and to you that you may not realize. All of my paintings are done in one sitting. They, no matter the size, they are done, if you take a good look at them, there are no corrections. None of the brush strokes or colors are removed or changed. Everything is done what they call alla prima, and people can look
Pause,
that.
pause, pause, pause. You need to go crisscross applesauce. I'm telling the truth.
I'm telling the truth. In fact, there's lots of videos on YouTube you
I
can watch.
believe you. It's just
You
to
can
me,
watch me painting live.
I don't know if
I
you
do
can see
paint live quite
I don't
often.
know if you can see the color changes in my face.
Yeah, I
Like
can. You've gone bright, sort of
I've
magenta
got,
red.
I've gone
Yeah,
bright. Like this
yeah.
is literally lighting me up.
Yeah.
So
So let me
keep
finish
going.
that thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
So
sorry.
so for those listening, those are all produced in one sitting. It's called alla prima, or working wet on wet. So you don't. So when I say there's a roadmap, it's almost like there's a process that is my own methodology. And I think you said you wanted to talk about my process a little
I
bit.
do.
And it's the process that I teach my students. And what's fabulous about it, which is why I've taught so many people. And again, my degree was in education, but I painted since I was 5. So these two melded together and turned me into who I am as far as an instructor. Then you add tetrachromacy, that's a whole nother thing. But my mind's like a computer for color and shape and form and value. And value is the most important aspect of creating a painting. And most people don't understand value. It's not like whether something has value, it means a shade of a color. So basically, if you take, navy blue and you turn it into baby blue over many different increments, that's the shade. So we're
Oh,
talking about when you look at a painting, no matter which painting, and I'm trying to get to the point here, but if you look at any painting, doesn't matter if it's a modern painting, an impressionist, a romantic period, cave drawing, doesn't matter, okay? It uses 3 main elements, and those are shape, value, and color, okay? And, it can be anything that you're putting up there. But the most important in painting, to produce the effect that you're looking at something, you're taking a one-dimensional surface, turning it into a 3-dimensional image of some kind, is value. And it's the shade of a color that gives it volume or form. But anyway, going back to me, I have a roadmap in my head. I have a methodology that I use. It's the same methodology that I teach my students. Some people laugh. My students would call it, oh, it's paint by numbers, it's step by step. It's not. But I have fashioned it in such a way that it's easy to follow in that sense, okay? So the values have numbers, the colors are mixed on a palette that's
hold on. Pause, pause, pause. When you say the values have numbers, are you talking about
that's a very artistic thing. Most artists know that values.
Okay, then
Yeah.
all right, we'll let that one slide. That's
Some people call the darkest one, but some people call it another number. But for me, the darkest starts at 1 and then goes down. I use a 6-value palette system. That's my own creation. And I don't think we have time to go into that, but if someone wants to come learn it, that's great. And then we mix colors accordingly, depending. So first I create my palette based on what it is I want to paint. And then I work my system, which, like I said, is like a roadmap. And people who have watched me paint, I guess the best way to describe it is they've walked away, sometimes looking like they've seen a ghost, but they walk away saying she knew what she was going to do from the first stroke until the last stroke. So it's very succinct, it's very deft. Like I said, no reworking, and all my paintings, and the largest painting that I have produced in this fashion was about 4.5 feet by 6 feet. And I worked on it for 17 hours straight. And it was, again, in the same process.
what a zone of focus and concentration you would have to go into. And also, I imagine in personal relationships, you have to be able to tell your partner, leave me the fuck alone.
Well, yeah,
Visuals
I'm a mother, and I've had children and worked all the way through that process. They're older now. But yeah, pretty much everyone, you don't disturb mom when she's up in her place, They slide a tray under the door.
That's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
also now the skill of
Interesting.
people management. I cannot keep going forward without sharing more of these paintings. So let me go. I pulled
Yeah.
3. So let's go. This one I like because I've
That's
been
amazing. Yeah. I call it In a Galaxy Far, Far Away, with a nod to Lucas and Star Wars. But yeah, again, that painting right there is it's a large painting. It's 24 inches high by 48 inches wide. So that's what, 4 feet, 2 feet by 4 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty special. And you have to see these things up close to really appreciate the nuances of the color and brush stroke, and the way that the wet paint is manipulated to create the effects that you see there. But it's a great painting. Yeah, thank you.
How many colors personally, as you look at this, can you see right now? Just because I want to know how many
Thousands, Paul.
you can
Thousands
see thousands right now.
of colors. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, easily.
Wow. That's so
They're
fun.
they're in there. And you
So
know what?
we,
For the tests that they've done for me at UC Irvine, which are very sophisticated, it's a very sophisticated thing that I do. And they put everything, they put my paintings, they put my color mixings, they put what I'm seeing in my eyes with their recording, everything goes through programs. I mean, it's very, they spit out, information based on, how accurately was this color mixed to that color, and how many colors are in there, and what's her color space. And it's all being documented. It's pretty amazing, pretty wild.
you'll never, you are one person and you have a particular talent that no AI will ever be able to grab.
Probably not. And I want to explain to you why that is, because I think it's important to note two things about tetrachromacy. And other than, if any of your viewers want to go to my website, there are some scientific papers there they can read if they drill down. But there's a couple of things that make me unique. And people often say, well, how can you be the only tetrachromat artist that has been studied and, gets all this press and BBC and Wall Street Journal, blah, blah, blah. How is that happening? Why not other people? Because there are other people, including my own sister, who have the genotype for tetrachromacy. But what I have that's very unique is, well, my scientist puts it as, yes, you're a unicorn, but you're a rainbow unicorn. So I'm not just a unicorn and being unique. I'm one step above, because I have a light factor that's unusual. I have my fourth cone in a particular spot in the color space that puts it in what the scientists call the sweet spot. So it's me, it's my brain, it's where this tetrachromacy lies on my elopsin, it's where it's the light, my light luminance factor, they call it. I have a luminance factor that if it was an earthquake, and regular vision has a 7, I have a 14. So I see
Wow.
a lot more color in dark, and I can see a lot more in just the day because it's so much more vibrant for me. So it's a combination of all these things. And then it comes down to the human thing of I was painting since I was a little tiny girl. I got my first oil paints at 5. And
Ooh.
my mother passed away when I was very young, but when I was about 8, she actually said to me, and I think she must have seen this, and now they've studied my whole family, they've taken DNA from my whole family, and even though my mother, they couldn't get hers, they figured out she was a tetrachromat as well, which is where this mutation came from, her and my dad, because my dad apparently is blue-black colorblind, so there was this full mutation going on for me between the two, but you had to grow it. So not only did I have all the correct pieces for the recipe for it to be functioning tetrachromacy, I grew it from a very young age. And the way I can describe that to you is if, let's just say you think of the Olympics we just had, and you think of people who perform in the Olympics and they're superhuman at what they can do. They had genes that somehow in their life were identified, and then they had training and more until they could bring those genes to that level where they would win the gold, right? In that category or break records. I had that same kind of training from a very young age, and I just happened to have, the Olympic genes for this supervision mutation in the right places.
So cool. Okay, so you can see how many shades I'm wearing what to me appears to be a drab olive uh,
Yeah.
t-shirt. Can you see
Well,
them?
I can see some other colors in there. I've got
But
there's a bit of there's a pale orange, a pale yellow. I can see grays, a little bit of a blue. Yeah, like a myriad. So what I see, people often say to me, "Oh, how do you see it?" And I say, "Well, it's like a mosaic of color, I guess." All right. Like, or if I look at your face, I wear makeup because I can't stand looking at my own skin. Whereas everybody I know goes, "Oh, you've got such lovely skin." But I see everything.
oh
Like
God.
every little vein, every little tiny
Can? Whoa, whoa,
nuance.
whoa, pause. You are like one of my top 3 most interesting guests out of 200 plus episodes. This is
Thank you.
crazy because I have a thing, I must confess, I have a thing for artists. I just
Oh,
can't
thank
understand how you
you.
do what you do. To me, it's like, so you can look at another person's face. I'm turning color again. I don't normally
Yeah,
do
and
that.
see colors that you can't see.
What
Yeah.
can you see? So
Well, yeah. Go ahead. What can
you
I say?
can see details on people's face.
Oh, I can see details like they're under a microscope. Yeah. Like, yeah, amazing detail.
Wow.
But it's not so great, to be able
Tell
to.
me. Tell me
Well,
what.
because it's very invasive. Like, you know what I mean? Like I say, I'm looking at myself. I don't, I know I'm an attractive person and I'm told I have beautiful skin, but I'm never satisfied with that in terms of when I'm in what I call my organic look. You know what I mean? When I don't have any kind of makeup or I'm not smoothing things out in a way that they look good to me. Does
How do
that
you
make
know that's not just some vanity?
Well, you could call it vanity. You absolutely could. And I'm sure women all over the world who wear makeup, we do it, because we want to enhance our look. Um, but like I said, I don't feel comfortable without wearing it, I guess would be what I would say. And a lot
Wow.
of people do. I also can tell when someone's flushed or blushing or perhaps getting to a point where they're not feeling well, particularly when it was my kids and people
Whoa,
who are
whoa, pause. Tell me more about that. You can tell and see through alterations of skin shades and colors if they're beginning to get
yeah,
ill.
yeah. And on a
Think
more
about
macabre level, I can actually tell when somebody's perhaps not faring too well and maybe at the end of their days.
Wait, you can look at the animal and tell, or look at the person?
No, the people, like their skin and colors that the colors that the skin starts to turn when they are diseased or dying or unwell in a
Oh,
serious way. There's a definite pallor that's very obvious to
well,
me.
it's obvious. I had a neighbor who died of some kind of kidney failure, but towards the end of her life, I could see she was gray and her eyes
Right.
turned yellow.
Well, I
That,
can see that a lot sooner and a lot more than probably other people.
wow,
Yeah.
that would have made you a great doctor too. You could
And I,
diagnose.
yeah, and I think the other thing is people often ask me, well, how is it? How's my day? How is my life with this kind of microscopic color vision, if you like, where everything speaks to me, right? Like you walk out of your house in the morning and you're just walking, your intent, you're going where you're going to go. I am, brushing my teeth and captivated by the tiles or the light coming in the window, or like I'm like super focused on whether there's any toothpaste dots on the sink or
That I bet
well,
now, mental
it's
strength.
kind of obsessive compulsive. It doesn't stop me from doing what I have to do, but it's just there. I notice.
Concetta, I have a observation or a theory that every great talent comes with it, a corresponding, I don't know if I'd say drawback or cost. For example, I'm wildly creative, but staying neat. If I were to turn the camera on my desk and organized is a great challenge for me. So I
Mhm.
could see how this ability to look at, be brushing your teeth and seeing different cascades of color and kaleidoscope of, I'm thinking of a kaleidoscope. When I was a child, one of my parents gave me a kaleidoscope where you
They're
click
cool.
and
They're
you,
such a cool thing. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
can imagine looking at your tile in your bathroom and seeing a kaleidoscope
Well, it's
would,
highly distracting,
yes,
just highly distracting. Instead of being able to think about something else, and wherever my eyes are looking, it's picking up information all the time about color and nuances of color that are sometimes, not necessary,
that make people, so
okay.
I get intuitive hits and I get deeply curious about people. Injecting this into dealing with people in your personal life, does that mean you have to do a lot more focusing in than if you didn't have this talent to not be distracted
To
so
not
that
be picky, to not be particular.
no, I wasn't going there.
No,
No, I
no,
wasn't going there at all. I'm saying if you're seeing all these different colors, like you look at their white teeth, but you see different ink colors, or does it make it difficult for you to focus in on what they're saying or the emotions of what they're conveying? Because there's only so much real
highly
estate in
distracting.
conscious.
Yes, highly distracting. And I guess the one example I use that would illustrate this is I was at lunch at a cafe here in San Diego a number of years ago with about 5 girlfriends, and we were having lunch, and they're all talking. We're all talking across the table, and all of a sudden somebody said to me, "Conchetta," like I wasn't engaged or I wasn't paying attention, and they actually said, "What are you doing?" And what I was doing was I was super focusing on this vase with a flower in it, and the light was coming in from the window, and it was creating all these colors and lights and pieces of stuff underneath on the tablecloth. And I was just analyzing it and dissecting it as if I'm going to paint it, and they're all having a conversation, and I'm just like literally out to lunch, not out to lunch with them. I was
Yeah,
out to lunch. Yeah, and I didn't mean to be rude, but I get captivated in strange ways when I'm in certain
but
places.
I'm sure in your role as a mom, as you say, or we say mom,
Yeah,
that probably is not so much in play because you have such a deep, loving bond with your kids. You can set them
absolutely.
aside.
Yeah. I'm a Leo, and I don't know if you know anything about zodiacs, but we
I
are
know
the
this.
lions, and we are very focused on family and loyalty. Yeah, so they
I'm a Virgo, and Virgos are skeptical, so we don't believe in astrology.
okay, there you go. Well, I'm just saying I'm very yeah, my children are my greatest creations, and they are everything. to me.
Beautiful. Let's go to another painting because I don't want to just make this me yakety yak. You're fascinating, but let's go to another painting. So let's go back here. And I love this one. Look at that.
Oh, that is fun. That's called, you know what that's called? So cute. A little universe. A little universe. And it's just like a little universe. You know, that I was in touch with the Astronomy Association. I can't remember their formal name in Arizona at one point. They wanted to fly me out there to talk to them about what I could see on these NASA slides, you know, and these NASA
Oh,
photographs.
wow. Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah,
my.
because I can see a whole bunch more than what they can see in terms of colors. And I often like to paint the universe because of that. Yeah,
There's an astronaut by the name of Edgar Mitchell. He was one, I don't know if you know who Ed Mitchell is, but he
I've
was
heard his name. Yeah.
he was one of the original Apollo astronauts, and he said he had an epiphany looking down on the Earth from Earth orbit. It
Hmm.
just his mind opened completely. He started to have psi experiences,
I
PSI,
believe it. Yeah.
and into he stopped being a materialist and began to see
Mm.
develop extrasensory perception. He spent the rest of his life experimenting with those things and got laughed at by a lot of the people who
It's a shame because the beauty of our world and the beauty of our planet and the beauty of our universe, these breathtaking gifts that we've been given that are so underplayed in our life for a lot of people. They need to be brought back into focus because they, and this is why I paint what I paint. If you look at the subject matter, for me, it's all about nature, it's all about animals, flowers, the universe, art, and so forth. I I believe that we're so lucky we live in heaven here. We have this amazing beauty that's all around us, and sometimes we don't see it. And I think when he was up there and looked back down at earth, it was a spiritual experience for him to see how beautiful, this unique, miraculous universe and this planet and the other planets now that our moon. And there's a new thing out there to help people with depression called Look Up, looking
what
up.
is that? I'm highly into
Well, they're trying to encourage people more to look up. Like how many people run around in their day and they don't even look at the sky, and they don't look at,
they're looking down.
yeah, they're looking down, they're looking straight up, they're at work, they're on computers, and we're missing clouds and light and sunlight and sunbeams and sunsets. How many people can say that they see a sunset in a week? A lot of people don't even try to see a sunset, or they miss it, or see the moon when it's full or at any of its stages. It's superb. We have, so much to be thankful for in just all the stuff that's free that we were given here.
I can only imagine what it would be like if you were an astronaut and you were in one of Elon Musk's SpaceX
Right.
rockets and you could look from orbit. You would never come back from that experience. Your mind would be completely.
Oh, you got to bring me down to earth here sometime, Paul. I like my planet. I like my world, but I'm not overly, I like my things and I like beauty, particularly art, flowers, things like that. I love antiques because I love the time and detail that an artisan or a craftsman would put into things of beauty, old buildings. It makes me cry when I see them pulled down, or an old clock or something, even old fabrics and the way that they were dyed. Everything now is so mass produced. There's so much beauty in, in the things. But I'm not a things person in terms of, I can't tell you the last time I went to the mall. When I go to the mall, it's like a short list. I need a, mascara, and I need, a pair of runners or something. And
Amazon, Amazon for
I
me.
don't even do that because I don't need. I think we need to, for me, it's about reducing the need and using, only what we need. So I just think I would encourage, I love thank you for bringing me on your show
Of
because
course.
it gives me an opportunity for me to say a few things and hopefully give some thoughts to some folks about maybe some other ways that they can enjoy their world in a different way, whether it's through color or light or just nature and beauty. And maybe they already know these things, but we get so busy we forget, and I just hope everybody goes out and looks at the next full moon and sees all the rings around it and all the colors. So
It's miraculous that you are here to remind people of that, both
I feel
through.
that's my job. I do feel like that's my purpose here. I think I was given a gift for that purpose, and I believe my art stands for that. And that one day when I'm no longer, when I'm fairy dust, hopefully people will look at my work and realize, what I was trying to say, or what I was trying to help them see.
I hope when we get the opportunity to sit down, because I'm also in San Diego, not far from
Yes.
you, I hope I will get to share with you my own calling, what I think I know I was put here to do something as
Oh,
well.
look at you bringing me onto this program. Otherwise, no one would know about tetrachromacy and this, and what's out there for us, what's really there. And again, I want to emphasize, to your listeners that to look a little more intently at things, to really, super focus next time they're looking at a rose. It always blows my mind when I'm in museums and I see some people and they'll walk into a room with like 40 paintings and they literally walk around the room, walk out and go, okay, I've seen it. It's like, I'll stand in front of a painting for like 40 minutes just for looking at one. So I guess to tell people to take a little more time to really notice the specialness of the creations, whether they're man-made, whether they're nature made, whatever, to really, because it will bring them a lot more joy and it will ease their troubled minds and those kinds of things too. And I want to, just influence people in that way, And
I,
speaking of that, I don't know how much more time do we have to chat,
as
but
much as you like, you are an
oh,
amazing guest.
oh, great. I'm happy to keep talking, and I'm sure you probably have some more questions there because
I
oh, go
definitely.
ahead. Why don't you shoot before I go off on another one of my
Okay, so
tangents?
you're actually doing something which very few people can do, which is to shift my beliefs. I've been told by people in the past, by people read girlfriends, but I've been told that I am uh, controlling, emotional, and stubborn. In my family, the males are quite stubborn. So you're managing to move me off my stubbornness, you magical human, which is very rare. I've, when it comes
It's
to,
opening your mind a little bit to something
you
new.
are opening my mind massively, and that's
Yes,
hence the color changes.
yes,
When it's one thing to have this beautiful talent and to express it so people can share it. I get it. But the ability to teach other people, that's a second talent that's equally good. I hear this old slogan, which I think is full of shit or shite or however you want to put it, or Vegemite. It's full of
yeah.
Vegemite. I'm sorry, I'm mangling your beautiful accent.
That's all good.
Saying that those who can't do teach and those who
Teach,
can't do. You can do both. So let's talk about what do you think are the foundational basis of being an excellent teacher, which from your track record, you've taught over 25,000 people.
right.
You
I
are.
think I think it's an intuitive understanding or desire, if you like, to really understand the person. That's something that in my classes right up front, when someone comes in, we all either we have our guards up or we have, things. And my job, I feel, is not just to teach them, but to understand where they're coming from, to understand what their fears are, to understand what their hopes and dreams are. And I think that when I can channel into who they are as a person, then we have a far better you know we're able to connect in a different way, and then I'm able to help them move through whatever fears or whatever that they have. They start, they have to trust, and when people, I don't know if you think back, maybe most of us, I think, through our educational careers have had a teacher that inspired us, right?
Yes.
I know I have a couple. And what was it about them that had me sort of eating out of their hand, or, trying to take in as much of what they had to say as possible? And I think it was because they saw me and they understood me and they approached me at my place. So all I can say is that, first of all, education is a powerful thing. It's the thing that I, push onto my children all the time. Get your education, get your education. I worked hard for my education. I didn't have family. Like I said, my mother had passed, but it was really important for me to do well and to learn. Okay. Learning should go on throughout our whole life. We should never stop. But
Yes.
I was good at the coursework that I did, and I really wanted to learn about teaching people and reaching people and connecting with people. And that's where it started. So the art was my joy, my passion. Obviously, tetrachromacy was this gift that I hadn't yet realized that I had, that helped me to be a good artist. And then I went and I learned how to impart that onto other people. And that was where the two sides of me, I guess, when you say, so those of us who can't, and those of us who can't can, that old saying. I started out with the passion. I did my 100,000 hours or my 10,000 hours or whatever it is, and I mastered my craft. But then I learned how to share it. And therein comes the two pieces, So, and in a way, teaching people made me an even better artist, or being a great artist helped me. They were like this, it went together. So I
Same.
don't know if that
Same.
answers your question,
It
but
answers my question beautifully. Same as as I grow as a teacher, it helps me refine my own art, which has to do with words and language, not visual. But
well, it helps refine your heart and your mind too, and make you a better person.
oh, of course.
I had a small story I'll share, just a 1 minute. There was a
Please.
lady came in, and her whole demeanor, her whole energy, if you like, was very abrasive. Okay, she was very negative, and she was very almost insulting, right? And I made a point because, you hear this thing about there's always something redeeming about everybody, no matter how they first come off to you. Give them a chance, right? Because there's always something very redeeming. That woman, even though at first I was like, oh, I don't even know if I can teach this person. I tried. I got to know her. I found out what her deal was. She ended up being like one of my most loyal students, telling the whole world about me, and just, loved me and couldn't do enough for me. And it was so interesting. And I really always remember that. So whenever I come across somebody that I think, oh, that's a lot, I drill down to that place of like, give people a chance. Give people a chance to be kind. Give them a chance to show you that they have a lot more than maybe what they're presenting. Because a lot of times those shells, those armors that we wear are our insecurities, and they're things that we don't necessarily want people to think about us, but we've just, built that up over time. And there is a way to get through that. And you'll find usually most people are good people, and they want to be connected.
That is a beautiful note to end at least this part of our conversation on, and we'll converse
Thanks.
in other ways.
Yeah.
I know my audience. I know my audience. One last time, I know my audience will want to stay in the conversation with you and find out more about your work, how to become students, your art. I know you're doing a January 30th. Today is
Oh, let
October.
me share my exciting news as of
Yes,
4
share,
hours ago.
share.
So
Bearing
I
in mind, this is mid-October 2024, but
Yeah, so I had a school here for 25 years in Mission Hills, San Diego, and in La Jolla. I started in La Jolla, then Mission Hills, and then I went back because I wanted my children to experience my homeland of Australia, and I wanted them to get some education there. So I closed all that right at the height of what I was doing and went back there, and then I kind of got stuck there in COVID. A lot of people know Australia was very strict during
yes,
that time. And then I started to eke my way back. My kids now have, flown the nest and all of this. And so I've come back to San Diego. I'm very excited to announce that I signed a lease in La Jolla yesterday. Very excited to.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Mazel tov.
Thank
Mazel.
you. to open up my continuing, or reopen my salon of art. It's a nod to the salons of Paris and the Impressionist era. I'm an Impressionist painter, so my salon of art gallery will open up probably in about a month, but the grand opening that everybody is welcome to attend will be on the 31st of January from 6 to 9 p.m. and there's an Eventbrite for it. If you just put in my name and Eventbrite, someone could find it. But I welcome anyone to come down to the gallery, and start in January. And it will be my private studio, as well as my gallery, as well as my atelier, my teaching place. So yeah, I'd love to see any of the people listening today would like to come down, and they can follow me on Instagram. They can find my website very easily under
Tell us how. What we'll put it in my producer will put it in the show notes.
Antico. So there's two A's in the middle. It's my full name, ConcettaAntico.com. I'm under Concetta Antico on Instagram, Concetta Antico on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of it. Yes, so you can find me easily. In fact, I was just up at the bank. I bank with Chase, and a lot about me. So, and if anyone wants to, again, find out more about Tetrachromacy, there's a big section on my website for Tetrachromacy. There's a lot of press, a lot of links under the media tab, lots of fun stuff. And the instruction calendar is already up for the first 4 months of 2025. So it's going to be
like 10 billion
rainbow
color.
Yeah, very cute.
So Concetta Antico, thank you for being
you honor me. Thank you for finding me, and thank you for having me on your show, and blessings to you for your kindness. Thank you.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show.